Hello and welcome to a whole nother awesome review. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Dark Knight Rises, which is a fantastic film. I really liked what Nolan did in this movie. I still think that Dark Knight is the better film out of the trilogy, but I have to say that this is the next best movie in the trilogy. And I think Nolan did a fantastic job of Bane. And the one thing I really like about what Nolan did with this trilogy was he made Alfred a really round character. I mean, you really feel bad for him at the end of the movie. And that's what I think Nolan did really well. And even in the cartoon series, Alfred, you don't really care about Alfred that much, but he actually made you care about Alfred, which is cool. And I think that's what he did the best in this series. And I really like this movie. I thought Bane was really well done. And the only criticism I can actually say is I didn't like Catwoman's costume in this movie. It felt kind of like Spy Kids meets Zorro, basically. And if I saw that costume at a costume party, I wouldn't even think Catwoman. I would think Batgirl. And, she doesn't have the claws. I was hoping that she was going to claw somebody in the movie, but she didn't. But Anne Hathaway's performance as Catwoman is really good. It actually reminds me of Frank Miller's Catwoman, minus the Catwoman, mask. But it does remind me of that a lot because she's a cat burglar in this movie, and there's a lot of elements that are similar to Frank Miller's Catwoman, I thought. But I gotta say, I really like Tim Burton, what he did with Catwoman, because he made Catwoman a psychotic. Like, she actually stitches the costume together. I like that element, and I felt that was missing. It's just like, where does she get, this clothes? It's just like, I wanted to see that element, that psychotic part of Selena Kyle in this movie. That's really what I wanted to see. And I really like what Tim Burton did with Catwoman, and I really miss the Catwoman mask. I'm a big Catwoman fan, and the fact that they changed it made kind of like Zorro. I mean, if you saw, in real life, if I saw someone wear that costume, I would be like, oh, you're Selena Kyle. Because I automatically know who you are, because the mask isn't even covering your entire face. I can see your hair. Okay, I know that's Anne Hathaway. That's what I mean. If she actually wore a mask, I wouldn't even know it was Anne Hathaway. And that's my biggest problem with the movie, is the fact that I know her identity. The mask does not cover it up. But all in all, I thought her performance was really good as Catwoman. Bane really steals the show in this movie. His performance is fantastic. I don't think you could get a better performance of Bane. I don't think anybody's ever going to top his Bane in this movie, basically. It was done perfectly. Everything. So, this is a movie that's done on a wider scope. There's more at risk for Batman, basically, in this movie. And the plot line does kind of follow Dark Knight Returns, which is interesting, kind of like Frank Miller's, but Nolan has his own take on it, basically. He takes elements that are in that comic and he puts it into this movie. There's a lot of similarities. You should check out all the similarities between them. I'm hoping that the next Batman movie is actually going to be Dark Knight Returns, because that would be cool to see an actual take on Frank Miller's Batman. Like, somebody shoot a movie entirely in Frank Miller's style. That would be cool, because Nolan basically references Frank Miller's Batman a lot. I mean, that's why I thought Christian Bale was perfect as Batman, because he is really great at playing dark characters. And, he played American Psycho. That's why it was perfect for Batman, because Batman is a control freak. He's a little bit, not there totally. He's a little bit crazy, a little bit on the edge. That's what I like to see in Batman. Because, just like the Joker said, you're just like me. Because Batman is basically a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? He's a vigilante, basically. And he goes out and, he kills people accidentally by making them fall off buildings or whatever, right? I mean, he is kind of like the Joker in a way. But there is a good side to Batman. Batman doesn't want to shoot people. He wants to put people in prison. He wants to see people brought to justice. And I like the fact about that fact about Batman. And Batman even says that in the movie. That we're not going to use guns. We're not going to shoot people. I'm going to bring people to justice. He says that to Catwoman, kind of in those words, basically. And I like that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, Batman doesn't use a gun because his parents were murdered by gunfire, basically. It all comes back to that. I thought this movie was fantastic. Bane is totally badass in this movie. He breaks Batman's back, and it's badass. I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Even though I don't like Catwoman's costume in this movie, I can look past that. I mean, Anne Hathaway's performance is really good. It's a fresh take on the Catwoman character, which is nice to see. And Bane is a badass. But I think that Michelle Pfeiffer really captured who Catwoman is, basically. And I like that Catwoman the best. To tell you guys the truth, because she captured, the sexiness and the dangerous side of Selina Kyle. Not only that, but the psychotic mind of Selina Kyle. Selina Kyle is a messed up character. She is messed up. And that is the Catwoman I like. I don't like this, all focused on what she's doing kind of like Catwoman. I like on the edge Catwoman, like totally crazy insane. So, I think Tim Burton really captured that perfectly with his Catwoman, because it wasn't just supernatural like everybody's saying. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he had to change it. Nolan had to change it to basically put it in his universe because it has to be realistic. Well, he could have still made Selina Kyle a little bit psychotic. And that would have been cool to see in the movie. And they never actually showed the origin of Catwoman in the movie. In fact, I find that Nolan stays away from the origin of the characters in the series. It's never told how Joker becomes Joker, really. He just comes up with basically a whole bunch of things why he becomes Joker. And this one is just a cat burglar that basically turns vigilante. And I get that. It's kind of like, it's kind of a different take on it. And I get that. It's fresh and it's new. But I really like that psychotic part of Selina Kyle. And I like the part where she's like sewing her costume together. Tim Burton's Catwoman to me was like a Catwoman out of a nightmare. That's somebody you don't want to meet in the streets. You meet Anne Hathaway's Catwoman and you're like, whoa, nice costume. Where'd you get that girl? And then she'd be like, no, I'm Catwoman. You're like, whoa, really? And if I saw her, I'd be like, oh, you're Selina Kyle, right? But if I saw, or if I saw the actress playing her, I'd be like, oh, you're Anne Hathaway. Wow, that's a great costume. But if I saw Michelle Pfeiffer wearing that, I'm not going to guess it's Michelle Pfeiffer. Because you can't tell because the mask covers her face entirely. You don't know who she is. And I like that mystery element of Tim Burton's Batman, basically. But I have to say it's a really great film. 10 out of 10 from me. And I really do like what Nolan did with the entire trilogy. I think this is the best movie next to Dark Knight in Nolan series. Second best, definitely. 10 out of 10. Great job. I like the whole thing about, Bane being, way stronger than Batman. And Batman finally meeting his match, basically. And I liked how they re-envisioned the Bat, basically. That was cool to see. There was a lot of cool elements in this movie, and the ending is fantastic. That's what's really great about the ending. The ending is perfect. I'm not going to give it away, but it's amazing. And I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10, and I'm going to say, go see it. It's awesome. And have an awesome night, everybody.